wouldn't know. My name's Randy, and I'll be covering some of the material that you need to know and not know. So the important part is to know what we're drawing, know the legends, so we put the proper symbols in. So when we get it to the site, we don't go, ooh, oops, I missed it, and I didn't insulate it, and we went ahead and built it. We really want the information there on the paper. If it comes up that it gets turned in and we don't have information, it's important to have your name up there so we know who you are and we can contact you and ask the question. We prefer not to do that. If your takeoff comes in and it's not legible and we can't understand it, you're more than likely going to get it back. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about a little bit, and we'll go into the fittings. Okay, so what we got posted up here now is the UTM standard issue cut sheet. We've taken our shop data stencil and drawn in several fittings, taps, offsets, a couple different kinds, and round shoe taps. So the material, what are we building? Are we going to build stainless steel, galvanized, black iron, galvanized up there? So we know we have galvanized material. Tag, we want to tag that RTU1. Job name, whatever your job name is, we're going to call this job name A, and the job number, fill that out. And then of course, you, the person who detailed the sheet. So in this case, we're going to put RF. We want the date, 10/3/18, sounds good. And the date you need it by. So we're gonna say we'll give it a couple weeks because that's our standard lead time. We're gonna deliver it or we're gonna will call it. And let's will call it. If you're gonna check the delivery box, make sure that you take the time to coordinate with our delivery people or department where it's going and when it needs to be there for sure. And in every box, there's a fitting number, quantity, and the static pressure of what we're building. So we can fill out the information needed. We're gonna go with 2-inch because that's standard most of the time on low pressure stuff. And then the size of the tap, we'll just call that a 12x10. And that's plan view. And now we need to know what kind of connection we're gonna have up there. So this is gonna be an S and a drive. And this is kind of indicating a hammer lock. Now how tall is that fitting? So this fitting by SMACNA, this first piece is always going to be a 45 and roughly 6 inches tall, and then beyond that. So make sure you put your height in there. Pardon me. So we're going to call that fitting 12 inches. So this fitting doesn't have a damper in it. If you want a damper in it, we have to indicate that it has a damper in it. And that should cover you. We're going to follow the same process to go through several of these fittings. All the time you're going to need to know what your height or length of the fitting may be. And these are all, we'd like to see our cut sheets in a plan view. So in plan view, you're going to be looking from the top. So if there's a critical length, let us know if we need to build to that critical length. And now we got everything we need to know about the fitting except for what's fitting number. This is fitting number 2, quantity of 1, static pressure 2 inches. Now that fitting's complete. This is just another offset, square offset. This is an OG offset. Again, the same criteria applies. We need to know the offset, what size it is, height, static pressure, fitting number. Another offset that's square. This is the preferred offset over that offset. This offset will tend to choke the airflow. This one stays true. So round taps. Round taps are ordered in 2 different styles. We got them both shown here. One is just a standard tap. This one is actually a pipe on a pipe that's going to a grill, and we may need to control the volume to the grill. So we have a damper indicated in there. with VD up there means with volume damper. So FS means fitting size, PS would mean pipe size. And now we need to know what it's going on, what that saddle tap is going to go on for the round. This one's actually going to go on a 20-inch round piece of pipe. So now we've indicated that we want a 10-inch round tap on a 20-inch round piece of spiral pipe, and now we got to go with the length. So lengths can vary a little bit with the size. So in reference to SMACNA, from 3 to 8 inch, the body is 4 inches long. So if you're in a critical situation, we need to know that. From 9 to 16 is 6, and from 17 on up is 9, and they keep increasing. So if you put a standard in here, ST&D, our takeoff department will build that as standard, and standard is SMACNA. So down here we have a round offset, and we're going to make that a 10-inch round offset. Instead of fitting size, we're going to go to a pipe size, and we want to put a Duraflange on there. So we're going to put DF for a Duraflange. The difference in ordering fitting size and pipe size is Duraflange is going to be a hard number. So if we order this thing 18 inches long, the fitting is going to come out ring to ring 18 inches long. And we'll put a 3-inch offset. So if we order the same fitting, but we order it in fitting size, then change the dimension is 18, now it's going to be 18 inches to the bead on the fitting size, which is where the pipe will stop at point of connection. So keep in mind, little adjustment in length if you're going to hard tie. Round elbows, we need to know what the radiuses are. Standard elbow has 1.5 times radius. However, that is based upon the center of the elbow. So in here, we just want to write the radius so that we know what we're building for you. This is a 12-inch round fitting size elbow. And if it's a 1 times radius, or 1.5 to center, this would be 12-inch radius in there. So make sure you give us the radius to the throat of the elbow, and we'll build it. So I've managed to almost go ahead and create a really bad cut sheet. Now here's why. I drew the fittings in, but I didn't complete the boxes. So it's easy to do that. As you're moving along, drawing your fittings up, we draw up the fitting and then we move to the next one. We didn't fill out how many we need. A couple other pages that we've kind of put some fittings in that we can look at real quick just to give you an idea of what they look like. Wow, they've got stuff all over the board there. We'll clear that out. We got a T elbow, a T fitting over here. Those are good indications of branch line that's going to go 2 directions. So now we have 3 sizes we need to worry about and 2 sets of throats. So we need to know how long this throat is and this throat. So we want to make sure we fill that in. We're going to go 6 and 6 there, but we're going to go 8 and 6 over here. Why? Maybe the size changes. So this is a 24-12, and this one is going to be 12-12, and this one's going to be a 10-12. So we've made up the difference in the throat to keep the flat on the back. So there's multiple situations where those numbers may change around. We got to put the connections in there, but it doesn't have a turning vane. Indicate if it's a turning vane by drawing a vane in it. Is it insulated? We need to put a star if it is. We'll go ahead and mark the connections, S and drive, S and drive. And how many of those we want? 2-inch static pressure. We only need 1. And this is fitting number 31. So that kind of gives you an idea about what a T looks like in an effort to build it so that it's correct. Square elbows. We don't see too many of the square radius style elbows. They're not the elbow of choice. But again, as long as all the dimensions are in there and indicate the radius, we'll be fine. SMACNA refers to a round-around reducer in its height to be the change between end to end. Take the two, minus them, and then add 4 inches, and that would indicate how high the body is. If this was a 12-inch fitting size to a 10-inch fitting size, the height of the body or the length of the fitting, according to SMACNA, is this end minus that end, and then plus 4 inches. So 12 minus 10, 2, add 4. This body is going to be 6 inches tall. And then of course we add for the collars. Our collars are standard as 3 inches with a bead in at 2 inches. So we're actually going to gain an inch here and then here when we put a bead on them. So you add 2 inches. Now the overall length of that fitting is 8 inches from bead to bead. We got another one over here that, let's make this one a little bit different. We're going to say we need a 12-inch throat this way and a 2-inch throat that way. And this is going to be a 20 by 10. And we're going to go to, let's call this one a change elbow and we'll go 18 by 10. So we can change our cheek dimension, but we can't change the heel and throat dimension without creating a change elbow. Prefer not to fabricate those because they're kind of an animal. So we'll give it a connection of S and drive, and yep, we better have a turning vane, indicate that in there, and fitting numbers and quantities. So now that we've got this other elbow up here, and we've talked about plan view. Everything we're taking off is really going to be from plan view. And usually your first dimension without fail is the side you're looking at. So that's going to be what we'll consider to be the top of the fitting. So the first dimension is always the side you see. The second dimension is the depth going away from you. So we know if this is drawn plan view and we need to make the elbow turn and go up now, we have to change the dimensions. So this is kind of what it would look like the other way. Come on, Mr. Marker. We're going to go 20 by 40 to a 20 by 40. So now this is a stack elbow that would turn up that can't be drawn from a plan view. So we've changed the direction of the cheek. Now we're looking at 20-inch cheek and 40 inches in depth. So if you spun this elbow and hooked it elbow to elbow, you'd change directions. So these are called stack elbows. So there's several different types of elbows you can get. Stack or sweep is what they're known as according to SMACNA. This is not necessarily a 45-degree elbow, so make sure we want to put the degree in here. So this, we're going to call this a 22.5 degree elbow. We want to indicate somewhere on there what degree of elbow you would like. So you can put the number in inside the fitting or whatever, or a 22.5 or 10 or whatever the case may be. And then that's what we'll build. Offsets, I won't go through them, but just so you know, you're aware, center line offset, flat on right or left offset, flat on top bottom. Offsetting transitions, make sure you put that information in there. The one thing that we didn't do, and let's do that on this one, is let's make this fitting offset down as well. We didn't cover that. So let's just say that we got a 24-inch tall fitting, and we're gonna go from, all right fingers, 40 by 20 to a 20 by 20. But that fitting, looking at this fitting plan view, we want it to drop down and offset down as well. And this is actually a center line as we look at it. But we're going to indicate that we want the top to go down that way. So when we put top down, that means you're looking at the top of the fitting is actually going to go down. So we're going to put top down 2 inches. And there we got the fitting. Let's change it up. Let's go bottom down. And now we've got an arrow in there that indicates which way we want it to go down. So bottom down, so the arrow indicates that this way, going down this way, is going to go down. So it's going to tip down. And that's the bottom, not the top. We'd like to see all of the insulated fittings on one cut sheet to simplify it for not only our input, but for you. So if we have a bunch of insulated fittings, if our low pressure system is all insulated, let's try to keep all our insulated fittings on the same takeoff sets. If we have an exhaust system that's non-insulated, let's keep the takeoff to exhaust all non-insulated together. This box down here, it's tagged miscellaneous material. This box is where we want to see hanger strap, glue, any of the miscellaneous items we want to see. I don't want to see ductwork listed in here, any kind of fittings you might need, whether they be round elbows or what have you. We want all that on in a square or on its proper cut sheet. Okay, so what we've got up here now is a takeoff sheet that's specifically for ductwork. Because the standard cut sheet is built in boxes and is kind of designed for fittings. And now we have a cut sheet that we just want to keep our duct on. Again, the detailer, that's the guy who's putting the information on the sheet, so we know how to track down if we have questions. Contact info on there, job number, job name, so we can identify it, the date in which you did it, when you need it by, delivery or will call. Make sure you circle one of those, otherwise we'll build it and you'll never know about it. It's a secret. Tag type. So we tagged our cut sheet before RTU1. So we'll tag this RTU1 to match. So now we have all the ductwork that's going to go with that cut sheet. Material type. Galvanized. We need to know what to build it out of. Stainless steel, black iron. What are we building? So make sure you put the material type in there. Gauge. I don't know that we know the gauge offhand, so we're going to put in here pressure class per the spec. Make sure you know what your spec reads. We're going to call it all 2-inch, and now they'll build to that pressure class 2-inch and pick the proper gauge metal. Down here, joints quantity. We need 10 of them, and our width is 20. Our height was 20. S and drive TDF. We're going to pick TDF, other, and notes. Up here, we have a insulation, yes or no, or special instruction. So this duct is going to be insulated, yes. If that information's not on there, it's non-insulated. You didn't mark it, we didn't know, it now becomes non-insulated. So make sure that this information is in there, if it's insulated or not. Do you have any special notes that you'd like to put in there? Second floor, west wing, paint it purple. Anything we may need to know, make sure you put in the notes. Note in here that we've got it marked TDF. TDF is a 56-inch finish joint rather than an S and drive joint that's 59 inches finish. So make sure you know your lengths when you're ordering. So as you go on down, couple, 2 or 3 different options that we can cover for like drop material or change in size. So I've got a drop that I want to put in a curb. So I want to make sure that I got quantity of one joint, and it's going to be a 30 by 15, and I want it to be S and drive on one end and an other. So I've marked S and drive, now other. Now over here in the notes, I want to put over here 1.5 inch flange. And that kind of covers the duct takeoff sheet to list your ductwork down and make it kind of easy. If you have notes like different connections, 1.5 inch flange or whatever that case may be, we make sure you put your notes in. We have a training paper that is a great reference to look at. Good to go over when you're done, when your takeoff is complete. Is it insulated? Did we mark our connections correctly? Did we miss a fitting length? How about a quantity? Oops, we missed a quantity. So there's a lot of information, and it can go on, but the important thing is at the end we review and go through and make sure that we didn't miss any of the symbols or boxes, and the information's there.